Are you fiscally responsible? Cheap. Well, if you are, this is the perfect video for you. Today, I'm giving you my 5 best value for money lenses for your Sony A7 III or full frame Sony camera. We're breaking them down in terms of value, performance, and my experience with them. Let's get started. Welcome back, guys, and today we're talking about 5 awesome value for money lenses for your Sony A7 III or Sony full frame camera. And these are lenses that I personally have used extensively and own. They have great value and performance through my eyes, and yeah, you might not agree with me, and that's totally cool. But if you're just getting started out, if budget's a factor, maybe consider these guys because I've used them and I love them, and hey, it's just my personal opinion. So let's jump in no particular order and look at our first lens that needs no introduction. It's the Sony 90mm f2.8 macro. This lens is an absolute beast. It's a G series lens with G Master performance. It's a fantastic portrait lens that is in a lot of cases too sharp, but it's also an incredible macro lens. It's image stabilized. It's got great value, great performance. Let's dive in and have a look at our first lens. So this has been one of my favorites since day one. I love macro photography. It's just a great way to be creative and see things from a different perspective. This lens is fantastic optically, but it's also very versatile. You can use it and take great, insanely sharp portraits, and you can also get in and shoot the details when you really need it. I actually use this lens for almost every review video that you see here on the channel. My favorite thing about this lens is just the ability to be creative with it. If you're interested or like macro photography, check out my video on creative macro photography ideas you can easily do at home that was made completely with this lens. So when it comes to the build of this lens, it's very well made with the exception of weather sealing, which is a little bit questionable. And of course you want to take this lens outside into your garden and whatnot looking for critters, but it also makes a fantastic product photography lens as well. For me, I find myself using it mostly in the studio, but I do wish it had better weather sealing. It's got all the buttons and switches you need, as well as a convenient and unique pull-down manual focus switch that doubles as the focus ring. Overall, a great size and weight, and coming in at around $1,100, I think it has great value with features you'd find in a G Master. Here's my personal pros and cons for this lens, and for more details, check out my full in-depth review on it. Our second lens is growing in popularity every day and is probably no stranger to you either. It's the Samyang or Rokinon 85mm f1.4. This beast is a fantastic lens at a great price. This lens has incredible value, and it's also best in class when it comes to size and weight for an 85 1.4. An all-around great lens and producing fantastic results. Beautiful blurred backgrounds, decent build quality. What's not to like? Let's have a closer look. So this 85 1.4 is just a fantastic value. At $599 US, it's incredibly hard to beat. Its build is decent, it feels pretty good in your hand, and it's quite light for what it is. It's very well weather sealed, which is nice to see, but one downside of it is you will need an external dock to update the firmware. And if you are investing into a Samyang or Rokinon lens, please invest into the dock as well, as the earlier firmware did have some issues which was worked out later. If you're a still shooter, this thing's a no-brainer, but if you do a lot of video shooting, maybe consider the reliability of a native Sony. I personally found it adequate though, and here's some examples of some work that I've done. Overall, I've really enjoyed this lens and don't regret my purchase one bit. If you're just getting started out or you're looking for a decently priced fast 1.4, this is really hard to beat. Here's my personal pros and cons once again. Number 3, obviously, I have to throw it in here, is the Tamron 28-75 f2.8. And this thing is kind of a staple in the Sony community. It's the best-selling Sony E-mount lens, and for good reason. It's fantastic value, great performance, amazing size and weight. Why don't you own this thing? Let's have a look. I'd venture to say that for the average new to intermediate photographer, the Tamron 28-75 is the best value for money standard zoom lens that you can buy. I'd recommend this lens to anybody just starting out in photography and wanting to get more serious. It's going to cover a great range for everyday photography, and it has that nice constant f2.8 aperture. Coming in at $899 US, it's a fantastic pickup with performance that rivals even the G Master. It's a decently made lens with no buttons or switches, it does extend as you zoom, and it's adequately weather sealed. Whether you plan to use this lens for photography or video, it's going to serve you well with its great autofocus system and phenomenal sharpness for what it is. Here's a few examples of some photos and video that I've taken with this lens, as well as my personal pros and cons. My favorite thing about this lens is its size and its weight. Here's a quick comparison between it and the new Sigma 24-70 f2.8 Art. Our next lens you might be getting sick and tired of me talking about, but it's the amazing 100-400 G Master. This thing is so amazingly versatile, I love it. And I like it on this list because it replaces a lot of the lenses that I need to take with me wherever I go. I can shoot sports with it at a kid's soccer game, I can take portraits with it, and because of its amazing 3-foot minimum focus distance, I can take it anywhere, so it's one of my favorite travel lenses of all time. Yeah, it's expensive, but in my opinion, worth absolutely every penny. Let's have a closer look at what this thing can do. What kind of photographer are you? Do you only shoot birds? That's unlikely. For me, I love a range of photography, and most people, I think, especially when you're getting started out, are interested in a lot of different things. This lens is one that can literally do it all. When it's not zoomed, it's only 8 inches long and weighs only 3 pounds. And with its amazing minimum focus distance of 3 feet, you can get amazing macro-like shots, as well as birds and sports and wildlife. And if you do need some more reach, there's always the 1.4 or 2x teleconverter, and don't forget about crop mode either. Call me lazy, but I really don't like swapping lenses. I like to throw one on that can do a lot of things and just be able to shoot away. That's my favorite thing about this lens. Not to mention it's sharp through every aperture and every focal range. It's a fantastic build with every option that you're looking for. And in my full in-depth review, I gave this thing 4.5 stars total. If I could go back, I'd give it 5 stars now. I know no lens is perfect, but as far as I'm concerned, this is the closest to perfect that you're gonna get. Keep in mind, everybody's shooting style is different, and this is just my opinion. Once again, here's my personal pros and cons. And last but definitely not least, it's a newcomer and the cheapest lens on this list, the Viltrox 85mm f1.8. This thing is surprising in both its build and its performance, and if you're new to photography or you're on a very tight budget, this is one that I can definitely recommend for you if you're just getting started. It's a fantastic lens. Let's check it out. It was at about this moment of me making this video when I got a message from one of my subscribers giving me some very interesting information. Apparently there was a secret firmware update that allowed the Viltrox 85 1.8 to become an 85 1.6. Now typically, a firmware update's not going to change the physical characteristics of a lens to let you have a faster aperture, but apparently this lens was designed to actually be a 1.6. And I'm happy to report that absolutely this does work, so I'm happy to say that if you were interested in this lens, it's an even better buy now, and for me, I'm confident when I say this is the best value for money E-mount lens that you can buy. If you don't know much about this lens, it's a very hefty and well-made all-metal construction, great autofocus, and it's fantastically sharp for the price. I personally love the character of this lens, and the bokeh is very nice. A lot of aspects of this lens beat out lenses that are much more expensive. For more details, check out my full in-depth review, or if you're shopping around for a different 85, I have a few comparison videos as well. If you already own this lens and you want to know how to upgrade your lens from an f1.8 to an f1.6, here's my video on that. Here's a few more examples of some shots with this lens. And a huge shout out to one of my subscribers who brought this beautiful information to my attention. Go check him out on social media at Mark12139. Thanks again, buddy. So as a whole, a great performing lens with outstanding value that I can easily recommend to you. Once again, here's my personal pros and cons. So these 5 lenses I can personally vouch for because I own them and I've used them extensively. If you want to see more in detail about any of these, I have a full in-depth review on all of them. I'm also going to be giving one of these lenses away to one of you lucky subscribers, so if that's of interest, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button, drop your questions and comments down below. And yeah, I want to hear what your best value for money lenses are for your favorite camera system. Make sure you throw that in the comments down below as well. If you want to buy one of these lenses, if you're ready to pick one up, I'll throw affiliate links down in the description for you. And like always, make mistakes, be yourself, and get out there and take some more pictures. See you next time.